I don't think most men notice the exact moment their marriage starts to die. It doesn't happen like in the movies, with shouting, cheating, or some dramatic betrayal right away. No, it's quieter than that. It's in the little things. The silence at the dinner table. The phone she keeps face down. The way she doesn't laugh at your jokes anymore, even though she used to laugh at everything. For me, it was a Tuesday night in October. I'd just gotten home from a 3-day work trip. I don't travel often, just a handful of times a year, but every time I did, I used to come home to her running into my arms like she couldn't wait another second. Back in the beginning, she'd leave sticky notes in my luggage. Little "I miss you already" kind of things. But that night, I came in through the door, suitcase in hand, and she barely looked up from the couch. She was scrolling, one leg crossed over the other, her wine glass half full on the coffee table. The TV was on, some reality show, volume low. "Hey," she said. Flat. Cold. "Hey," I answered, dropping my bag. "You didn't miss me?" I asked it light, playful, like a husband trying to spark a little affection. That's when she hit me with it. Without even blinking, she said, honestly, "I don't really miss you when you're gone. The house feels quieter, calmer, easier." She didn't laugh after. Didn't say she was joking. Just looked right back at her phone like I hadn't just been gutted alive in my own living room. I stood there, frozen, listening to the low hum of the TV, the ice clinking in her glass when she swirled it. My throat was dry. My chest felt tight. I wanted to ask her what she meant. I wanted to press, to demand, to know why the hell the woman I married, the woman I gave my best years to, was telling me she preferred life without me. But I didn't. I just sat down across from her, staring at the muted TV, pretending it didn't feel like she just shoved me off a cliff. The rest of that week was a blur. I kept going through the motions: work, bills, laundry, dinner. She stayed distant, glued to her phone, laughing at messages that weren't mine, her smile sharper and freer than the one she gave me. At night, I'd roll over, reach for her, and she'd pull away, muttering she was tired. Sometimes she'd sigh like my hand on her hip was some burden she had to endure. You ever try to touch your own wife and feel like you're committing a crime? That's how it was. Still, I kept my mouth shut. Because here's the thing about men like me: we don't always explode when we're hurt. We don't always scream or throw things. We take it. We swallow it. We keep showing up, hoping tomorrow will be different. But something in me shifted after that night. I started noticing all the cracks. The way her phone lit up at midnight with names she quickly swiped away. The way she laughed louder when she was texting than she ever did at anything I said. The way she dressed up to go out with her friends, but barely brushed her hair when it was just me. And every time I noticed, her words echoed in my head: "I don't really miss you when you're gone." It's strange. You think the worst thing your wife can tell you is that she doesn't love you anymore. But it's not. It's realizing she doesn't even notice when you're missing from her life. That's worse than hate. That's erasure. And it was in that erasure that I started thinking, if she wouldn't miss me when I was gone, maybe it was time to test her words. Quietly, carefully, without a fight. Not yet, but soon. The following weeks, I tested her without her even realizing it. I started pulling back, not in a dramatic way, not with arguments or ultimatums, but with silence. If she didn't ask about my day, I stopped offering details. If she didn't want to kiss me goodnight, I stopped leaning in first. If she wanted to sit in the living room scrolling until midnight, I let her. At first, she didn't notice. Or maybe she did and just didn't care. That's the part that ate at me, the possibility that my absence in her presence meant nothing at all. But slowly, there were signs. One night, I came home late from the shop. Normally, I text her when I'm running behind, but this time I didn't. I walked in around 9:15, and she was at the dining table, phone in hand, wine glass full. She looked up quickly, almost startled. "You're late," she said. "Yeah," I replied, kicking off my boots. "Didn't think you'd notice." She frowned, but didn't answer. That silence told me more than words ever could. I began reclaiming parts of myself I had long abandoned for her. Started hitting the gym again after work. Spent weekends fishing at the lake instead of waiting around for her to decide if she felt like spending time with me. Picked up old hobbies: woodworking, reading, even a boxing class. And the more I focused on myself, the more unsettled she seemed. She'd walk into the garage where I was sanding down a chair and say, "You've been spending a lot of time out here." Or she'd poke her head into the den where I was reading and mutter, "You're awfully quiet these days." I'd just nod, smile faintly, keep working. She wasn't used to this version of me, the one who wasn't begging for scraps of her attention. The first real crack in her confidence came one Saturday. She asked if I wanted to go to brunch with her and some friends. Normally, I would have said yes, eager for a chance to be included, to be near her. But that morning, I was already packing up my fishing gear. "I've got plans," I said simply. She blinked, almost confused. "Plans?" "Yeah, going out with some buddies. Won't be back till later." Her lips parted, like she wanted to argue, but she didn't. She just turned away, muttering, "Fine." But I saw it, the flicker of doubt in her eyes. The unease of realizing I wasn't tethered to her anymore. That night, she tried to bridge the gap. She came into the bedroom in lingerie she hadn't worn in years, sat at the edge of the bed, brushing her hair back, giving me that look she used to give in the early days. I glanced at her, calm, and said, "You don't have to." She froze. "What do you mean?" "I mean you don't have to pretend." Her face tightened, like I had just called her bluff. She huffed, grabbed her robe, and stormed out. And that's when I knew the power had shifted. But this wasn't about games for me. It wasn't about getting her to chase me. It was about preparing. Because every move I made, every moment of silence, every boundary I put up, it was leading somewhere. I had already started a private account she didn't know about. Already made digital copies of my documents. Already contacted a lawyer about what separation would look like. She thought I was just being distant. But I was building my exit. And I was going to time it perfectly. Not when she expected. Not when she thought she could control the story. No. When she least expected it, I was going to disappear from her life completely. And for the first time, she would miss me. By December, the air in the house felt different. Not because anything had magically healed, but because I had stopped playing my old role. I wasn't chasing her anymore. I wasn't filling silences with nervous chatter. I wasn't bending over backwards to make sure she felt loved while I felt empty. And she noticed. She started asking questions she hadn't bothered asking in years. "How was your day? Are you hungry? I can cook something. Want to watch a movie tonight?" On the surface, it might have looked like effort. But I knew better. This wasn't love. This was panic. Because she could feel it, the distance growing, the control slipping. One night, I came home later than usual. I had grabbed dinner alone at a diner after the gym, just sitting in a booth with a burger and a notebook, jotting down things I needed to do before leaving her. When I walked in, she was on the couch, her face pale, her eyes red. She'd clearly been crying. "Where were you?" she asked, voice sharp. I hung my jacket, calm. "Out." "With who?" I raised an eyebrow. "Since when do you care?" Her lips trembled, and for the first time in years, she didn't have a comeback. She just sat there, looking at me like I was slipping through her fingers. That was when the text started. Little things during the day, like she used to send back when we were in love. "Good luck at work today. Miss you. Dinner's on me tonight." I didn't respond to most of them. When I did, it was short. "Thanks. Busy." "Okay." And my lack of reaction seemed to rattle her more than any fight ever could. The strangest part was how she started dressing up again for me. She'd put on perfume before I got home, wear dresses she hadn't touched in years. One night, she even lit candles on the table and made my favorite meal. I sat down, ate quietly, thanked her, and went to the garage after. No long conversation. No pretend affection. Her smile wavered that night, and I realized something. She wasn't chasing me because she loved me. She was chasing me because she could feel the shift in power, and she was terrified of losing it completely. But what she didn't know is that I had already made up my mind. I wasn't staying. The lawyer had drawn up the paperwork. My new place was already secured, deposit paid in full. I even had movers lined up for a date I knew she'd be out with her friends. All that was left was timing. And timing, I knew, was everything. Because she once told me she didn't miss me when I was gone. So I was going to show her what it really meant to miss me. The plan became my anchor. Every time she tried to smile, to act like the wife she hadn't been in years, I kept my focus. Every time she touched my arm or laughed a little too loudly at something I said, I reminded myself, this isn't love, this is fear. And fear wasn't enough to keep me here. So I waited, patient, silent, precise, until the day would come when I walked out and didn't look back. It was late January when everything finally snapped into place. I'd been waiting for the perfect moment, the right opening where my silence and planning would hit the hardest. And then she gave it to me. That Saturday morning, she came into the kitchen, still in her robe, hair tied up, and said, "We should plan a vacation. Somewhere warm. Just the two of us." Her voice was almost pleading. I looked at her for a long moment. "Why no?" She forced a smile. "Because I miss us." The words might have sounded sweet to anyone else, but to me, they were empty. Because this wasn't about missing me, it was about fearing she had already lost me. Still, I played along, nodded, smiled faintly. "Sure, let's talk about it." But in my head, the countdown had already started. That evening, she said she was going out with friends, claimed it was just drinks, a girls' night. She dressed up in a way she hadn't in months. Tight dress, heels, perfume strong enough to linger after she left. And for once, I didn't ask questions. Didn't ask where. Didn't ask who. I just said, "Have fun." She gave me a strange look, almost suspicious, then walked out. But I already knew, because for weeks I'd been watching. Quietly, patiently. Her phone lighting up at midnight. Her sudden late shifts. The way she kept her device glued to her hand like it held her whole life. So when she left that night, I followed. I kept my distance. Drove a few cars behind. Watched her pull into a hotel parking lot, not a bar, not a restaurant. A hotel. She stepped out, checked her phone, and then he appeared. A man I'd never seen before, tall, confident. She didn't hesitate, didn't look around, just walked straight into his arms. And kissed him like she hadn't kissed me in years. My chest didn't explode with rage. My hands didn't shake with betrayal. No, because this wasn't a surprise. This was confirmation. Confirmation of every late night, every turned cheek, every whispered, "I don't miss you when you're gone." She had already told me the truth. I just hadn't wanted to believe it. I didn't confront her that night. Didn't storm in or cause a scene. That's not who I am. Instead, I drove home calm, sat at our dining table with a notebook and a pen, wrote down the final steps of my plan. By the time she returned, heels in her hand, hair messy, I was already in bed. I didn't even look at her, didn't ask, didn't care. She thought she had gotten away with it. But I had already decided exactly how I was going to leave. 3 days later, she came home from work to find half the closet empty. My side of the dresser bare, my tools gone from the garage, my toothbrush missing from the bathroom. On the kitchen table sat a single envelope. Inside were the divorce papers, already signed. And a note, just one line, in my handwriting. "You said you don't miss me when I'm gone. Now you'll learn what that really feels like." Then I was gone. No fight, no begging, no second chances. And for the first time in years, I felt free. She wanted silence. She wanted calm. She wanted a life without me. Now she had it. And the man she thought was too weak to leave, too loyal to walk away, too easy to replace, was gone forever.